muted. Hello and welcome to Season 3, Episode 7 of Fabrically Speaking Live. I'm your host, Clare Rowley, inventor of the Creative Feet line of sewing machine products. And I think everything is working right today. I'm super excited about that. Hello, Tina and Lorinda and Better Days, also known as Amy. Joanne Pfeiffer. I'm actually watching on my cell phone inside of the group on Facebook because last week, if you felt like I was being rude to you, last week I couldn't see that because apparently, I don't know, in the group is different than on the Creative Feet page. So if you want to be seen in the and participate in the chat until I spend more on my live feed, be sure you're watching on the Creative Feet fan page if you're in Creative Feet. In the Creative Feet fan page if you're in Facebook. My noisy iron. One of my favorite things, and I feel like I've never been more unprepared to go live than I have been today. I have been having a great day, Karen. Thank you so much. I hope you have as well. Hi, Candace. And I don't know if this is all working right for you guys. Does it look good to you? It's so cool if it is. This is my Fuse and Fuse stabilizer that you can use in many different ways. I had a lot of different conversations this week that made me think maybe I should do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and answer some of your questions or go deeper into the conversations I had with some of you this week in here and kind of show you a variety of different things. And then I got in here and I realized I never made my presser holder. So I thought I'm going to make the presser holder, and I added the pattern for it inside of the school this morning. So this is the Fuse and Fuse, and it comes with a cardboard core to protect the stabilizer from becoming deformed or folded over or creased in shipment to you. And it's a fusible stabilizer that's printable, so you can put it in your printer and print patterns on it and then save the step of tracing through it, or you can also trace through it. I handled batting today. I thought I might play around a little bit on this as well, do some free motion quilting, and talk a little bit about our fabric inks because that's what I did on Saturday. I felt like being artsy, and I painted that flower shirt hanging right there. And I also painted this. This was a plain shirt, and there was a little spot on it that I couldn't get off no matter how many times I washed it. So I decided to put lots of spots on it so I could get it dirty all I want. I can go out to eat and not worry because, well, there's so many spots on there. But it looks like art instead of like I got a mess on me. And those are the fabric inks that I used to paint this on this fabric, which is completely soft to the touch, as is the shirt that I'm wearing. And it's also how I painted the koi fish on that quilt. All right. If you're new to Creative Feet and to me, welcome. And know that I also have a free online school. It is at the top of the chat. The links to my website, creativefeet.com, is my website where you can buy the feet that you'll see me using. So what I have here is my fabric that I absolutely love and I used for my little elbow pad, also known as the bolster pillow inside of my YouTube channel. If you want to make one of these for resting your elbows on while you're doing artwork or hand sewing or free motion quilting or any kind of sewing. So the inks are the Soft Creations inks on our YouTube or inside of creativefeet.com. I'll have links. I think there already are links on the video, in the video description, because I'm getting better at this. So one side of this is paper and one side is fusible. So I'm going to fuse this to one side. And this is one of my favorite things to do with fabric. When you want to have, for instance, boy, am I good today. If you ever made a purse or a wallet and you wanted to have dividers in between and the fabric is just doesn't have enough body to it, but you don't really want it quilted because it's really not necessary to have quilting, then you'll love how you can fuse two fabrics together using our fuse and fuse, putting wrong sides together, and it gives it, well, it's a double layer of fabric, and it also stops it from fraying. So you can use it in ways that you normally would not be able to use a regular piece of cotton fabric. And you can use this on any fabric, by the way. So what I'm going to do here is take this fabric, and it's kind of like giving it a really heavy dose of spray starch that never goes away. Do not use steam when you use the fuse and fuse, because the paper will lock the steam beneath it and it'll shoot out below the paper and hit you and burn you possibly with the steam. So it's Soft Creations Fabric Ink. And we have 4 different types of fabric paints on our website. Some are softer than the others. So when you see textile paint, it'll be a little bit softer, and ink is soft as well. They're all color fast and can be washed and dried in your washing machine and dryer. And I really want to do some inking with you guys. But the way that I ink these shirts is I really got them, I got it all over. I did the back and everything. And it gets really messy. So I'm trying to figure out how we can do that kind of messiness inside of my sewing room without getting it everywhere. So know that as soon as I get that figured out, I'll do some more inking with you guys, because I just hate doing it. Have any of you used the inks? Some of them are really thick and opaque for work on leather. So this is, I'm now going to remove the paper release liner. I should wait for it to cool completely so that it stays on there. I didn't get it fully ironed on the ends. Do any of you have any questions for me? And how was your weekend? What did you do this weekend? Were you creative in any way? I hate to brag, but it's like spring outside today. I think it's in the high 60s. And while you think, oh, you're in Arizona, that's normal, it's really not normal for where we are. And I feel so spoiled. I just want to go outside and have, take some walks, which I have done with the dogs. By the way, I am probably not going to function as normal because I am letting my natural nails grow. So when I peel this back, I peel it back slowly. Especially, like I said, you should wait for it to fully cool, which I'm not here. So I'm going really slow. This becomes a fusible sheet that I can use to iron fusible pieces onto other things. So I generally do not throw this away, especially when I do a large piece like that, because now I have a large pressing cloth. I have inked on all kinds of fabrics. I tried it on a variety of different synthetics. The only fabric it didn't do well on was an upholstery fabric. But I don't think I ironed it first. Because I'm always trying to do things the wrong way in case you guys do things contrary to the directions. So I have my finger planted where the stabilizer ends because our stabilizer is very thin, almost undetectable. This is also how I make my cell phone purses. So my purse is very thin and lightweight, and you can do flat zippers and not have to line your purse. You're basically sewing the two fabrics together, and it creates a lining at the same time. And generally the problem you're faced with when you do this is your edges are not finished. But we have the Satinedge Foot to play with. If you're not familiar with my Satinedge Foot, it is a foot I invented for a blind sewer to replace the need for a serger. This was in the 80s. And so we can do things that you normally would use a serger for with a foot on your regular sewing machine, and without knives and things to worry about, we can be a little bit more detailed and even create little scalloped edges and then finish the edge with it. Now that the fusing is in there and the paper is gone, I can go ahead and use steam, and I generally will, and press through. And this lighted surface is my cutter pillar light tablet, which you can cut on, as well as trace on over. Now, one of the things that this pattern calls for is drawing lines. And I fused the fabrics together, which I probably should have done after I drew the lines. And since these lines are difficult to see over, because I got a lot of lines on this pad, I'm going to remove that pad. And below it is another pad or mat. And this mat doesn't have lines on it, so I can see through it better. I also place my squares when I'm piecing beneath it, so I don't have to use rulers. I can just lay my square over it and see that it fits or matches. Hello, Picola. Okay, so I'm turning on the light. And place that beneath it, and hopefully I can see through it. Too much. Let's see. So there's just too much going on this pattern, I think, for me to follow it. Isn't that fabric delicious? It reminds me of popsicles all melted on something. Okay, so what I'm going to do instead is take the pattern and place it on top. And I have a big piece here because I know that I'm going to love this pencil presser holder, which is for things that roll off your table. And it has a low profile, perfect for putting in front of your sewing machine. So I have enough to make two here. I'm just going to make this stay put. Hello, Rosetta. Welcome. Gallup, New Mexico. So I'm putting little dots on my stabilizer. And this is just going to keep this from moving while I cut it. And it's water-soluble stabilizer, so it doesn't hurt anything. In lieu of using a straight pen. So now that's held in place. And I can cut without having it slip on me. pretty sure the stabilizer is all the way. Yeah. How are you all? What is on your sewing table? The more you participate, the more Facebook and YouTube think you're having a good time, and the more they will share it. And if you could share it, that would be awesome. Everything that you see me using here, everybody can use because our products work on all sewing machines. As long as the sewing machine has a zigzag stitch, you can do everything that I'll be showing. Hi, Sheila Foster Finley. And I'm so glad you popped in. You were the winner for the little sewing machine pendant. If you could email me at info@creativefeet or send me a message on Facebook with your address so I can send it to you, that'd be great. I totally have been just so swamped and didn't write down where you guys were watching, so I would have had to have been an inspector and figure it all out. It's a busy time here, so notice that I'm cutting on a pad on top of the tablet. If you haven't seen this before, it is a time saver for sure. It's designed for the pressure that you apply when you use a rotary cutter, so you don't have to worry about damaging the light tablet. No sewing table right now. You're knitting a baby hat? Oh, somebody knitted or crocheted. I had no idea all the things you could do with crochet, or I would never have stopped. People are forming like complete costumes out of knitting, three-dimensional sculptures. Oh my gosh, it's just, that's not what crocheting was like when I was in school. Are any of you like that you do really intense crocheting or knitting? The email is info at creativefeet.com. There we go. So now I know you're a Facebook watcher. All right. You had a catchy name, so it was easy to remember. Almost done cutting this out. It's kind of fun. You can look at all the boxes that you have ever received and think, that is a pattern. If you open the box up, you can trace and figure out how the box was made. I actually didn't do that with this. I used our octi hoops to generate the shape. And then I took an octi hoop and put it here and spread it apart, and so I had the same angle on both sides. If you don't know what an octi hoop is, they're these, and you can cut things the same shape as it and use it as a pattern. To create little containers like this for whatever you'd like to use it for. I miss having, I have them in my sewing room, and I'm missing having them in other parts of the house. So I cut two. I can make two of these. Yay! And I know that I can fold on the corner to eliminate the need to actually draw that line there. And I will show you. Hi, Carlene Wood from Indiana. Welcome. You're piecing an 8-inch center block. I cannot wait to get my quilt done. Why isn't that transitioning? There we go. Every time I see this fabric, my heart flutters. I just I don't know what it is about this, but I really love this fabric. So rather than using my iron, where'd my itty bitty ruler go? Problem with itty bitty rulers is they disappear. And actually, I was using what I made last week. Now see this side's all sloppy and everything else looks really nice. What I did after I sewed this, and I didn't show you guys this last week, but I went around again. I folded and sewed around the bottom, joining the walls to the bottom. And that gave it more of a structure and made it stand up. Made it stand up better. So this is where I've been keeping my things that I lose. It's just a bigger cubby. But it's been really nice to not lose anything, because I did do some stuff when you guys weren't watching. There we go. If you haven't seen the wooden pressers, this is one of the pressers that the colors, and I make them on Fridays. So if you ordered some this week, know that I'll be making it tomorrow. And it actually has a really nice crease now. I can take it further and fold it over again. It's also fantastic for paper if you do a lot of paperwork. And paper piecing, absolutely awesome. The Batik fabric I'm using, do I have any selvage left? You know, I think this is an inexpensive one that I bought at Hobby Lobby, and it doesn't have a name. And I got a variety of them. I used it for this as well, so you can kind of get an idea. I would like to have some things that match this. So if I have a party for the summer and I have this on the table, then I can have these little cubbies on the table for silverware and napkins. So I'm thinking making a variety of different sizes of these might be really fun. I love batiks. I love all fabric, but I'm emotionally connected to batik. I think it's because it looks like watercolor paint, and the artist in me just loves that. If I'm not seeing your post, it's because you're watching on Facebook and you're inside of a chat area that I can't see. So just know that I will respond as best I can after to any of your statements. If you want to be sure to be watched, you want to watch on our YouTube channel, or you can watch inside of the Creative Feet fan page. So this next fold is going to be where this point joins with that point, and I could draw a line too. Might not be a bad idea. I was like, oh gosh, they're going to be so bored if I make another container instead of doing something new and exciting. And I thought about this pin. I think is running out. It's my favorite because it's purple. But you don't like purple, you said. I really don't mind purple. I just used it too much for too many years. So if you print out the pattern, this would be a cheat. You just go from corner to corner and draw the line, and this is to help you form it into the shape that you need. This one's not writing very well on it either. You had somebody keeping you from listening? Thought it was funny. A couple of you had husbands recognizing my voice last week. That's actually, that doesn't take very long, does it? Definitely. Why the pressers are so nice, because you can skip the iron altogether. Skip the tracing. So put it on the line. I'm never boring. I think that's a matter of opinion. I've had some comments. Oh my gosh. Stop talking and just show us something. That's, some people say that. Oh, the camera really lagged that time. Once upon a time, I would have had my feelings hurt, but now it just makes me giggle. There we go. I'm like, how did I have it on the paper? Yeah, we got a troll. Block user on YouTube. Bye, troll. Okay, so I'm going to show you this close up so you know what I'm doing. So on each corner, you're going to bring the two together, the 2 points, and it kind of closes it up and makes a cute little kind of a seam. Oh, that reminds me of that game you play with paper. What is that called? And I was dreaming about this last night. It's like, how am I going to stitch that down? Should we do that first or should we do that after we finish the edge on the top? And I think we should definitely finish the edge on the top first. But I don't know if I'm right. We will find out. First time making something. Pattern designing on the live feed. Origami. That's not it, but you hold it in your hand and you have different words written on it. You know what I mean? You go, and then you open up and you have like, you write little words on it. Did any of you do that? It's something I did in junior high, I think. Elementary school. Fortune teller, is that what it was? I admire all you guys that can remember stuff like that, the names of stuff from grade school. Okay, so I'm going to go all the way around the perimeter using a satin stitch with the Satinedge Foot. And use a pretty fabric, pretty color thread. Now, a lot of you ask about what color or what kind of thread would be the best for different things. And in this case, I really want my thread to show. I was going to play around with some metallic threads today, too. Cootie catchers? I'm going to use the 40 weight Polyfast thread that you can find under the threads link at creativefeet.com. And I think this color is going to be perfect. It's purple. Let's see. Let you guys decide. Nice complementary color. I don't know. Let's see. I also am very fond of teals. Come on. Come on. And I know you might be going, there's none of that color, but there is. There's like this little bit of greens and bluies. blueies. And then we have pink-ish. I'm not really, I think I'm just going to take that one away. All right, you guys, help me choose. What color? Hi, Nayan or Noyan, my eyesight. Noyan. Whoops. Should I make it easier on you? Take one away. This one's kind of pretty. I think it'll show the dirt. So I think, okay, we're nailing it down to 2. Purple. I could use orange. Teal. We have somebody that chimed in. Thank you, Sheila Foster Finley. I love saying your name. When someone asks you what your name is, do you say all 3 names? You were too slow, Amy. And in this case, because we're using it and covering the entire edge of the fabric, we want to match the color to the bobbin and have the bobbin and the needle match one another. Hi, Donna. Did you get my email? I saved you from having to ask me if I put your guide in there by sending you an email. You're never late. You guys are so cute. And somebody ordered this today. I can't remember which one of you did. A lot of Deco Bob went out today. So I have a feeling I'm not going to be able to match this color. I'm going to have to wind a bobbin. It's been so long since I've had to wind one. But that's all right. Can never have too many teal bobbins. Maybe I already have one. Nope. So did your mom give you 3 names? Or is that your middle name? I mean, a lot of us have it. So what's spelled funny? Oh, yeah, your name, your first name. So is it Sheila or do you say Shelia? Your mom couldn't spell. Oh, that makes you unique. I think that's cool. So spell out how you, or write out how your name is pronounced, Sheila. Is it Sheila or is it? Is it Shelia or Sheila? Gotta wind a bobbin. Do you know that it is warm enough in the house right now to turn on the air conditioner? But then my feet would get cold. So your name, is it Noyan? Noyan Shah? Or Shay? Oh, I can't do that. Sometimes I put my thread in the little spring on my bobbin winder to keep it from misbehaving. But you can't do that when you're winding a bobbin. Whoops. I do sell the cutter pillars, absolutely, and I have fantastic news. I've been interacting with them on a daily basis. As we are waiting We've been waiting for some. They had sold out. It's a great Christmas gift product. So we were, first she was saying that the totes were in and the totes were supposed to be after the cutter pillars. I wish I could speak Hindi, but I don't know how. So if you're waiting on a cutter pillar ultra, which was what we had sold out of, the one that you see here, it's considerably bigger than the other ones. So this is one size, and in this size there are two types, one that you have to always plug in and the other one that, sorry about that, that's loud, one that plugs in and is battery powered. Both of them, all of them come with a mat with lines on it. If you want to have the one without the lines, make sure you get the edge to edge mat to fit your tablet. And there are totes as well, so you can carry it to class, take it on the road with you. Something just went in my eye. Wouldn't be a Thursday if something didn't go in my eye. So she said, I'm sorry, we have the totes coming in this week. And then, okay. Crossing fingers that our truckers don't strike. If all goes well with that, now that they are actually in a truck, they are expected to arrive to the Caterpillar location in Utah early next week. And they will start shipping all of our orders that you've been waiting for since last year, some of you. In October, I think, is the oldest orders we have. And they'll ship directly out to you to save time. Hi, Allison. Sewn in trifocals. I love your cute names you guys come up with. Okay, so I wound the bobbin. Good night, Noya. Noyan. All right. All right. We haven't had anyone from that far that I remember or am aware of. And for all of you that are hiding in the background, lurking and not communicating in the chat, hi, and I know you're there and I can feel your support. So what I'm going to do now is put on the Satinedge Foot. Show it to you up close. This is my little tote with, by the way, we had sold out of these. They have been ordered. We are waiting for our shipment. And they took my money. So they should be about a week. But I want to say this, and I'm not going to scare you, but maybe I will. Their stabilizer, they did not have. So I don't know how long. We still have some, but we're on our last roll of it, our last log, and then we cut it in smaller pieces for you. So, hi, Terry. So if you're needing any of the Applique stabilizer for patchwork applique, don't hesitate to order it. And if it shows that we're sold out, we're not sold out yet. I sold out of all my pre-cuts already. Her product's definitely trending right now. We pretty much sold out of her tweezers. We have one set of her medium scissors left. But like I said, everything else is coming in, so that's good news. I was going to do an applique lesson, which is partly why I didn't know what to do today. But I'm like, what am I going to teach that for when I'm sold out of everything? That would be frustrating for you guys. So if her stuff comes in before next week, you can expect some needle turn applique next week. And all this time I kept looking for needles and getting really frustrated because my needles were not going through the fabric well. I mean, hand needles, because I don't hand sew very much. And I was like, we sell the best hand sewing needles on the market, the Applique needles. So I have my own now in here. You can see they're beautiful. They don't stick to your fabric. Oh, they feel like nothing else you've ever put in your hand before. 15 needles come in one of these little containers. They're about $1 a needle. I would say you probably need the other needles because you'll lose one. Be good to have a magnet near you. We should check that. Do they attach to the magnet? Do you guys see my magnetic pin cushion? Oh, here somewhere. Oh, it's way over there. So let's see if they're made out of steel. I don't know enough about these. They're tiny. I need my glasses just to hold one. Definitely made out of steel. So if you drop one on the floor, a magnet will help you find it. Let me see if I can show you. Well, let's see. What can I compare it to? You guys know how big a pack of needles is. So you can see how little that hand sewing needle is. Smaller than a sewing machine needle. Okay. These fingers do not like holding on to needles. The needle I'm going to use is a 9014 because I'm using a thick thread, 40 weight. Ooh, I could do 2 threads through the eye of one needle. I remember I was going to show you things that I like, right? Some of my favorite things. Don't want to lose those. Do I want to do that? So Terry Bishop, you bought all my stuff at Sew Expo 8, 9, or 10 years ago. I love how you guys like to age me. Usually I hear, I've had your products forever. We are celebrating our 33rd year in business. I think. Pretty sure. That's how old my daughter is. Nothing like releasing a product line when you're pregnant. That's what I did. Okay, so let's talk about the Satinedge Foot. And it has a little wire inside the zigzag opening, and you turn it. And as you turn it, it pretty much will stop in any position that you place it in, which makes this foot able to help you guide for top stitching, edge stitching, pen tucking, invisible applique, stitching in a ditch, charted needle design, all kinds of things. This is not the needle I have in the machine. I have the super non-stick needle in my machine. These I found on the floor somewhere today. This foot does so much. I don't want to bore you saying it all, but basically, anytime you need to guide accurately, that's what you use. The Satinedge Foot. It comes with adapters and an instruction booklet if you buy it, sold separately. We also have it in specials. So if you go to the Creative Feet site, you'll see the feet packaged with these little white parts, and that snaps onto the foot. So if you have a snap-on foot, a snap-on machine, you just snap it on. And if you don't, if your feet screw on, then you snap on one of our adapters, and we haven't left you out. This is the Singer Slant. We have low shank, high shank, Singer Slant, super high for Kenmore. This is the one for the Janome 9mm wide machine. Janome wanted to make sure our feet fit their machine. When they first came out with the Horizon machine, they had us come to their booth with our feet and make sure that they fit, because they didn't want people going, well, I don't want the creative, or I don't want your machine because I got to have those creative feet. Because when you see how these work, you'll understand. Oh, I didn't say anything. This is how the Bernina attaches it. And if you have a FOF with the even feed mechanism, you disengage their even feed and take their snap-on adapter off, put ours on its place, and then you have a standard low shank that snaps on to our feet. This is Sequins and ribbon. Where's the pearls and piping foot? I had it on this morning. Oh. And then this is our pearls and piping, not to be confused with all the copycats that the sewing machine companies have come up with. This is the only one that has a little slider that makes it adjustable for different needle positions. And it's the only one with this uniquely shaped tunnel, as they couldn't violate my patent. They just made lookalikes. Hello, another Clare. And you bought yours at the Hampton, Virginia Quilt Show? Hampton, Virginia. It's been a while. I don't do shows anymore, so... But I'll tell you what. I was thinking I'm starting to feel like I have been caught up to where I can start planning our events here, as I don't intend to get on the road and do those shows anymore like I did before. It just wasn't a very effective way of doing shows, as I would just sit there and sew for you instead of you guys benefiting from sewing. See, this is what I'm making. I'm making a presser holder. So until I've learned how to pick it up with my toes. It's fallen so many times. Have any of you had to pick up your presser with your toes? Did you, when you saw me at the show, Claire, did you see the pressers? Did I have them yet? I don't think I did. This is something that I hand make. And I'll be hand making them tomorrow. Now, this is a juvenile size. I was going to mention this because every once in a while we have a problem with the wood and I have to make it smaller. So if you have any children in your home that you are teaching to sew, my son's like, I don't want to have to add that. So it's something you would ask for. You can call me up. And so they're smaller. They're shorter and they're narrower, and the front or the tops are smaller, which work better for shorter fingers. Or if you have super, super, super small fingers, if you can't buy a glove small enough in adult and you have to buy children's, then you probably will find these easier. Yes, it was exhausting. Okay. So tomorrow is presser making day. We have a house that got emptied of people and they're redoing everything, and there's a lot of noise outside that just distracted me. I thought something was wrong with my machine. I don't know if you guys are able to hear that or not. You love your thread holder? So Wonderfil just released, or is about to release, something for working with metallic thread, and they called it the ultimate thread dispenser. I'm like, nah. Mine is the ultimate thread dispenser. Yours is a little baby version, and it's this little tiny one that can go on your machine, and I am going to carry it. But I told them, I go, next time try to use your own name. All right, here we go. So what I'm doing is choosing a zigzag stitch, the width that I feel like using. I'm going to use a 3.5 millimeter wide zigzag, wigwag. Bring my needle down so that it's hard to see this, so I usually draw it for you. I can't wait till my nails grow out a little bit. So the story is about my fingernails. I guess I finally have the right vitamins. I'm 58, and my entire life my nails have been deformed. They've been growing up like that and break off, and so I always had to put something on my nails. I had acrylics on for ever since my company started, because my fingers have always been under the camera. And it was so bad that Just nail polish wasn't enough. So I've got the right vitamins, and now my nails are the right shape, and the fake nails won't stay on. They just keep popping off. So I'm like, all right, it's time to, and I'm super excited because I like to play the cello, and I can play the cello better. So you've got your feet at the Paducah, Kentucky quilt show. Well, Kentucky's been through a lot this year. That's where you live? I try to remember where you all live, but. Hello, Pamela. Shep Productions. What is that? Tell us about it. My childhood dog's name was Shep. She was a little toy collie. Beautiful dog. All right, so how we set up the Satinedge foot. Trying to find a pin that isn't so big. We have a raw edge of fabric, and we're going to sew on that raw edge of fabric. The foot itself is going to be placed on the fabric. And most of you know that when you go to sew off the edge of your fabric, I just messed that up. Oh, you live in Paducah. Well, that's just is a very, very sweet town. It's so beautiful. Some really good food there too. So the guide pin comes out of a guide that comes off to the side. So you can't really see that the pin is in there, but it's really in there. And it goes through the opening where your needle goes. This is the snap-on part. So there'll be your ankle on there. And you have the screw that comes out, screw assembly. And there's a nut in there. All right, not bad. Not great, but not bad. And your fabric is going to be in line with the wire. And the wire is also known as a guide pin. It is bigger than what I drew. Is always going to be off the fabric's edge. And then when your needle swings on the fabric and then swings off the fabric, the stitch is formed over the wire or guide pin. And that stops the fabric from tunneling up. And the year I created this was the year the little baby lock overlock sewing machine came out, the very first one. Because people started making napkins and selling them to restaurants. And my blind sewer that I was teaching how to use her sewing machine, who was taking a class in tailoring at the Braille Institute, I'd been working with her for about a year, modifying different feet for her. And she came in with a napkin and pulls it out of her purse and turns bright red. Know that she never saw or heard anything in her life, born blind and deaf. Didn't know how to describe what it was that she was feeling. And she just said she wanted, in a machine she typed in. This was right when Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were in their garage developing the operating system. She brings this napkin out and, sorry, let me get set up. So this machine, she would type in it and the little digital readout would come out. The typewriters just started having the little digital readout. So it was right then. You got yours from the Home Shopping Network? Yeah, the last time we were on Home Shopping was 1998. So welcome. You got to see me with my poofy hair. If you want to see me at the very beginning, there's a Blast from the Past playlist. And on my YouTube channel, and you can see the very first episode, or very first time I was ever on film with Clotilda. Okay, so now I'm shortening the stitch length, bringing the stitches closer together. Where'd that pin go? I put it away probably. I'm too organized. I did. I put it away. Aren't I proud of myself? So if your stitches, if you can't get your stitches to get close enough together, if you see space in between them, that means you need to shorten the stitch length, the up and down. The W on your machine, or the side to side, is how wide the stitch swings. And you are limited to how wide this opening is, as to how wide you can set your zigzag stitch. And it is different on different machines. Because not all sewing machines have their needle come down in the same spot with relation to how it attaches. So that's what I'm doing now. And how I check is without holding on to the fabric. I sew like this and let the sewing machine do the fitting. This darn drawer never stays shut. And this is how you can see what the sewing machine's stitch length is set at. If you hold it, if you put your hands in front and back, which a lot of you have been taught to do, or you mirror watching other people sew that way, then you're not getting to see what the sewing machine is actually set at. You want to let go completely. And this does make people nervous sometimes when I say that. You live in Southern Oregon. What have you got? Okay. So now I just shortened it down from, it was a 0.9. That was the default for my zigzag stitch. Now I have it at 0.5, and I kind of like it, but I think I like it a little shorter. So going to 0.4 and doing all of this without touching the fabric so that I know what the feed dogs are set at. I think the foot pressure is light, too light. I'm going to take it up. So I had it set for applique, which was a really light pressure. I want a little bit more pressure so that the feed dogs engage with the foot more. Still not holding on, by the way. I'm going to see how long I can go without holding on. This is the kind of stuff I would do at shows. So that I would show people that the foot is doing the guiding. And then a lot of people think I never hold on to the fabric, but I do. Just I'm watching the front of the foot, making sure that there's never any space between the guide and the fabric's edge. So now I'm reaching a corner, and I stop with the needle up. Aloha! Oh, I need to go to Hawaii again. It's been too long. I can't see your name. Why can't I see your name? Is that... Oh, you're Creative Grammy. So now the needle is up, and I lift, and then we pull the fabric off the guide pin and then turn. Place the fabric so it sits off the edge again. And now the foot has to get up and over this area right here where the stitch is bulky. So what we want to do is we want to... Oh, we got another troll. Goodbye, troll. So to prevent the fabric from getting stuck, or the foot to have, it's barely holding on. It's only got like this little corner beneath it. Then we increase the stitch length. So I go from 0.4, paying attention to what it was set at, to 0.6. And now I'm going to sew. And if it doesn't feed, I'll lengthen it even more. We don't want to go too long. Sorry, my drawer opened up and it distracted me. We don't want to have it look different. So now once it starts to feed really well, we shorten it back down to 0.4. That's the trick. And that works even if you have a sewing in a overlock machine as well. Once again, I'm not really holding on. I'm looking there. If the fabric were to come away from it, then I would tap it a little bit. Just like a little tap with my finger. So to the corner. Another thing that I do is I hold up the fabric like this. And I'm generally resting. That's what this elbow pad is for. I could have used this at shows. What I really want to do is like have it strapped on. So I never have to pay attention to it. And I might do that. You love that foot. I do too. It's awesome. So you have, that's a new name, right? Sean or Son. Looks like you got your name combined in one line. Welcome. So now I have reached another corner. I'm going to do the same thing that I did. What do I do? What do I do? Write it in there. What do you do on a corner? Because a lot of you go, I can't remember what to do on the corners. Well, if you write it or if you say it out loud like 5 times, if you really want to remember something, stand up. Get yourself on, well, we're getting older, but I had my kids memorize their phone number when they were kids by jumping up and down on one foot and repeating their phone number. And they learned it in one day. They had it memorized. What is down there? Stopping the foot control from, ooh. The lights just flickered. So we stop at the corner. If we reach a corner, we do what? We increase the stitch length slightly. Lift the foot, move the fabric off of the guide wire, turn, and place the guide so that it sits off the edge. I also like to take the end of the thread and go to the right side of the wire so that the thread is coming over the guide wire. And now I have my length lengthened to 0.6 again. It didn't need it very long, because I can go shorter than a 0.4, but I really didn't want to because of how I have to construct this. Okay, it's starting to feed, shorten it back down. If it moved too much, then you can just pull back for just one stitch. And that's if you're really fussnickety, because most people are just going to look at your stitch and think you did it with a serger. They're not going to think you had the ability to do that with your regular machine, because generally what happens when you sew on the raw edge of the fabric? Your fabric does what? Boy, you guys are quiet today. Are you tired? If you don't talk, I'm not going to talk. Okay, so rest your body when you're not needed to guide. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. I forgot to go back to 4.0 or 0.4. It's not going to be perfect, darn it. It wrinkles up and tears, and it also doesn't stay the same width, right? You could try it right now with a regular foot or with a satin, your applique feet. Try to do this on the edge of any fabric, and you'll see that the width of the stitch will not maintain all the way along the edge. So that's another thing that this foot does for you. We can incorporate wire inside of the stitch and fishing line inside of the stitch. Sandra Wheeler. Or Sandra. My eyesight. It's actually like 3 feet away from me where the chat is, but I made the font bigger so I can see it better this way. Your favorite foot, Terry? Aw. I don't like saying one's my favorite because they feel like my children, and I don't want one of my feet to feel bad. Isn't that funny? All right, so lift, pull off the wire, turn, place the guide wire off the edge. Increase your stitch length, back up to 0.6. Happy Thursday, everybody. I always look forward to this day. I get to hang out with you guys. I just wish I could hear your voices. Okay, back down to 0.4. I'm almost done with this part, and then we'll stitch it together, and then I will do some things. One of the things that was brought up was the rolled hem, how to do a rolled hem with a rolled hem foot. And even though I didn't design that foot, I don't mind showing you how to use it. Lift, pull off the wire, turn. Most of you have it, and a lot of you fail at using it, and I'll give you the secrets to using that well. Now I'm increasing the stitch length back up to 6.0. So a few stitches. Once it starts to feed, shorten it back down. Don't look at the needle. Watch right here, keeping the fabric up against the side of the guide. And you can see that it doesn't matter if you push it and it's messy, it keeps it right in the same position. I designed this for a blind sewer, so that's why it works like that. So, are any of you having any difficulties using the foot? Is there any particular project that you would like me to do for the show? I really would like your help on coming up with ideas. I mean, if I didn't already have this project sitting here, I probably would have just come on and said, I'm not sewing unless you guys give me an idea of what to do. Or I probably would have defaulted to the octi hoops because I have so many things that I have to finish. Okay, it's starting to feed. Shorten it back down again. And I know a lot of you are new to my product line. Had a lot of new Satinedge Feet purchases from our advertising that we do, and welcome. So now you can see this is another service that we offer is Thursdays. Every Thursday, Fabrically Speaking Live is the name of this show, and I sew live. And so there's no editing. You get to see everything that happens, whether I break a needle or succeed. We got another troll. We're gaining in popularity, or we wouldn't be getting so many trolls. That's 3 already. Hello, Denise. Where are you from? So I'm now coming up where I began, and I have this tail, and a lot of you have a serger and you're like not really sure how to finish the ends of things. So what you want to do is you want to take the end, and you can lower your needle, lift this up and bring it back. So what we're going to do is we're going to stitch the end into the stitch. And that's one way of finishing the ends and having it be to where you can't see where you started or stopped. But now we have the other end to consider, right? So you take and you pull, lift the foot up, pull off, take your needle thread and pull it out a little bit. Come on. Tweezers, where'd you go? And the reason we sold out of these tweezers is because they are the best at grabbing what you've got. I'm doing something wrong, I'm pretty sure. I usually do this on the end. I think I'm confusing. It's been a while since I've used a serger. Oh, I know what I do. You lift up and then you take your fabric and you flip it over like this. Then you pull the thread back toward the spool so that you don't have any slack. If you got slack, you can pull it back to the spool to tighten it up. Texas. What part of Texas? Spent a lot of time there with you guys at the International Quilt Festival in Houston. So does that make sense? So if you have a serger and you've always wondered how to secure the end so it won't come off, that is how you do it. And then you don't see where you started or you stopped. Top or bottom. And now it's safe for me to cut these threads. You can also take your threads through a hand sewing needle and bring it back through the stitch and come out there. And that will also be a real good secure. Fort Bend, Houston. Did you guys just have snow? Where are my little scissors? I'm too organized. I have too many cubbies. Where'd I put them? You know what? I had them in my paper version of this. And it took me forever to find. I actually didn't find my original set. I stole from inventory. So this is going to be really helpful so that I don't lose my little scissors. Seam ripper and my pressers are going to go in this. Things you use often. There they are. I'll never forget one of the first, I think it was the first time I went to International Quilt Festival. Or the first time I drove there. And my daughter called on the way home. She's like, "Oh, yay, you're on your way home." And then she called like an hour later and she goes, "Where are you now?" And I go, "Texas." She goes, "Okay, you're still in Texas?" Like, 4 or 5 hours pass. And she goes, "Hi, Mommy, where are you at now?" And I go, "Texas." She goes, "What do you mean you've been in Texas all day? I thought you were coming home." The longest drive from Arizona to Texas. DD not to. I have no idea what that is. Okay, so now the trick is to get these corners stitched down in some manner. And I just have to think if I can have the box end be on the outside or on the inside. And looking at the stitch on here, trying to decide I guess I'm too fast at tapping. Look at all this deliciousness. Okay, so the idea is to bring these corners together. And when I did my paper version, I had the little flappy on the outside. But since I'm making it out of fabric now, I remember this is lined because we fused the two fabrics together. Lowville, Kentucky. First show I ever did was in Lowville. So it's the outside. Do you want the outside to look pretty or do you want the inside to look pretty? And I'm going to have it go to the inside because I want the outside to look good. Yes. Oh, what a difference. Illinois to Texas. Okay, so I am folding and I'm going to stitch across there to make sure it's nice and straight. And this foot helps you sew straight stitching. I'm using a center needle position. And bring my needle down and I move the wire over to the needle. So since you can't really see, I'll do this again. So on a straight stitch, the guide wire is going to be just to the side of the fabric again. Actually, we have a line that we're going to stitch over. And you bring the guide down so that the wire is just to the side of that line. And then you lower your needle. And then you watch the guide, which is out here. So if your guide is lined up with that line, your sewing machine needle is automatically. So you don't have to watch the needle, which is hard to focus on. Once you set that up. I have great energy today. I feel so good. I always start in from the edge of the fabric and sew a couple stitches because I want to get the feed dogs grounded, especially on these newer machines. Sometimes the feed dog's lower when you use your scissor button. So a couple stitches forward. Now I know the feed dogs are engaged. Once again, not holding on, making sure the feed dogs did the pulling, not me. Couple stitches forward, then I go back. I should be using my glasses because I can't tell if my guide wire is in the right spot. I can't wait till I'm done with this so I can have a spot for my glasses. The feet are new to you on your Bernina Burnett. If it's a sewing, yes, you'll just snap it right on, as the Burnett is a universal snap-on foot machine. Unless they changed that. Okay, so I am lined up properly. So now I'm watching the fold because the ink wouldn't take on this fabric for some reason. That happened last week too. I don't know if it's the lotion I'm using. So now go off and come back on again. And when you're back on, that's when you end. So you don't have to worry about cutting your thread close to the edge and having it unravel. And this is the inside. And then we want to press to make that nice and crisp, and I can cut those threads. Where are my other scissors? Where's my? That should be my nickname. Tina, you've been quiet. It's 3:19. You let me know what time it is. Did I ask what time it was? All right. So we're building this. Oh, it's so exciting. And you can see it has crispness to it because even though it looks like one layer of cotton, it's not. It is actually... I'm going to go around this afterward with a straight stitch and make that stronger on the corners because you never know what I'm going to do, how much I'm going to put in this thing. Keep your mind on which side is inside. That's me talking to me because I forget. You're welcome, Madeline. I try to respond, and if I don't, know that it isn't from lack of trying. Oh. Country silk warmers asked you. I see. Welcome, country silk workers. What do you make? And Madeline Ratkiss and Denise Ross. Welcome to you guys. I've been like keeping my eye on the needle. Not really. So I'm going to do the same thing on all of these corners. Bring the needle down when the foot is up on the fabric rather than starting off the edge and trying to come up. I do the same thing when I piece so that you have really strong joins on anything that you sew. And this foot fits all sewing machines. How it attaches to the Bernina sewing machine, if you have a Bernina where you have a post and you slide the foot up and you pull a lever down, is different than the Bernina Burnett. Now, the Bernina Burnett is generally not made by Bernina. It's made by different sewing machine manufacturers. And it's the only way they can really be competitive with other brands that sell for lower prices. And it's nothing wrong with your machine. Bernina Burnetts are good machines. But things change, and so I'll show you both, or I'll help you understand better. Now, our feet fit all sewing machines with a zigzag stitch. And they even attach to the featherweight sewing machine, but your featherweight doesn't have a zigzag stitch or the ability to move needle positions, which limits what you can do with it. And I will be, at some point, doing a series of videos with the featherweight to show you what you can do with your featherweight sewing machine and the Creative Feet. So you're in Queensland, Australia. We have other Australians that hang out in here. Is it nice and sunny there? It's sunny here, but not warm enough to get in the ocean here. Here we go. So on the Bernina sewing machines, and there's two versions. There's one with a rounded backside, rounded off here, and one squared off. One with an open front and one with a closed front. So sometimes they give you this if you have a Bernina sewing machine. Who makes what? Oh, these are the Applique needles. It's a brand. I don't know. I don't know if I'm catching up. I'm falling behind on your chats, you guys. These are the really amazing Applique needles that are imported from Spain. So I don't know what you're saying is gorgeous. Is it the fabric? I don't know what you're asking. Help me. Say more. So if you have been given one of these from Bernina, it's basically a snap-on adapter, you can snap all 3 of the Creative Feet onto your machine. So we have 3 sewing machines, or 3 feet. And a lot of people think we have more than that because our 3 feet do so much. Generally, you buy 1 foot, it does one thing. The Satinedge Foot all by itself, which is on the machine, does over 27 different techniques, eliminating the need to buy 27 other feet. No sewing machine manufacturer has as many feet as we have techniques. So this is Bernina's snap-on adapter. If you don't have that, you can get one of these, and we have these at Creative Feet under supplies. And then these little white adapters come with the feet. No matter how you buy our feet, you get a set of adapters. And that turns your regular screw-on low shank sewing machine into a universal snap-on foot machine, and you can take feet from different sewing machine companies sometimes and snap even your feet onto our adapter. So it's not like you're going to have to keep undoing things. If you're asking about my sewing machine, my sewing machine is hand painted. I hand paint all my machines. I'm known for having a painted sewing machine. When I would be at shows, I'd hear people talk about me as they were walking by. Oh, that's the foot lady with the painted sewing machine. So that was my identity on the road. Another thing I'm going to do in a minute here is work free motion, or do some free motion. And you can all do that as well. Even if you have a featherweight, you can do free motion embroidery and quilting with our octi hoops. It's one of my favorite things to do, especially if I'm stressed out. Having a rough day is just doodling. So once again, my needle is on the line, and the guide is how I know, because I set up the foot in line with the needle. So if I stay on the line with the guide, then my needle will be there. If you look at the needle, you can get lost. The needle is where you are. This is where you're going. You always want to look where you're going, not where you are, because if you're looking where you are, you have no opportunity to adjust should you need to adjust something. I forgot to go back. Here we go. Whoop-de-doo. Oh, I have no idea why I did that. I'm just such a good mood. I need to go back off, or I need to go off more. I didn't do it that enough last time. Ending up on the fabric. Each of the feet come with some instructions, no matter how you purchase them. If you want to learn all that our Creative Feet do. It's kind of cute, though, you know, having that, like, stick out. I wonder if I could use that for something. If I have this be open. Could I put my little needles in there? See, this is how my brain works. Okay. So I'll show you how they're packaged. So when you purchase the feet, if you buy just one at a time, and a lot of you have on Facebook especially, we have Facebook ad running, and people emotionally just immediately just buy it, because you got to have it when you see our 1 minute ad. Show you a variety of different things it does. Everything's slipping and sliding. All right, put a little control here. The package opens up like this, and you get the 4 little ankles. The Bernina adapter is sold separate because you guys get them a lot of times with your machine. But if you need one, we have them as well. And you get some instructions, what you see on the front of this cover. And I'm going to put it on the close camera so you can do a screenshot right now, and you'll have what this foot does, or what the instructions you have is, what instructions you have included. But we also have a 208-page workbook, which I think I found it and had it ready to show you. Well, that was 2 weeks ago. So the 208-page workbook comes with 500 illustrations showing you how to set up the fabric in relation to the needle. I did have really big crowds at the shows, yes. And a lot of people got frustrated. I had people come up to me or write to me afterward and say, I tried to watch your demonstration, but I never got there at the beginning. And I said, oh, no, it starts at the beginning of the show and ends at the end. And I'm lucky if I get up once for a potty break. So then the next year they would try to come in. But sometimes we were in just about every show used a picture of my booth to advertise the crowds, because that's what it was like. And now I have room for all of you, because you can sit at home instead of try to squeeze in a chair around my table. But I do miss that connection that we had. Okay, did I answer all your questions? So we have a 208-page workbook, and it's a workbook because you make samples. You learn a new technique, because I am the inventor of not just the creative feet, but well over 100 different sewing techniques, like fishing line edges and wire edges and the things that you couldn't ever do because there was never a way to do it other than hand sewing. That's how long I've been doing this. So I invented this foot when I was 19. I'm 59. Oh my gosh, 40 years ago. Time flies. All right, so here we go. Make sure you pay attention to which side is out. And we're almost done with this. I said that before. Once again, line up the line with the edge of the white guide. And if you need to, turn the hand wheel each time. I have to, because I keep moving it around and talking about different things. So I did move the guide. And you're at risk of breaking your needle if you don't pay attention. Okay, so now it's back to where it should have been. Go back. And we go off, which is something that a lot of you can't do with your feet on your machine. They're not made to support you when your fabric is off the edge. Whenever you're doing a join like this, a corner, if you shorten your stitch length, you'll have a stronger join. It'll look better. The stitches won't show if you shove too much stuff in your container. Okay, I didn't draw a line on this one. What's missing? I need to draw a little line. Okay. I think I drew it on the wrong side. There is a crease there. It's just not as crisp as the other ones. So I've had people ask how long the show lasts, and I try to stay on for 2 hours. Sometimes I go longer, but generally my brain starts to fail me if I don't stop at the 2-hour mark. I have filmed the entire demonstration that I did at a show, if you want to see that. It is on our YouTube channel in the Creative Feet playlist. Okay, so now we have this, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn it right side out. and I want to make it more stable. But this is where I am going to be putting my presser. And I'm not going to do this because I have a pin place. This is for the things that I'm constantly saying, where's my seam ripper? Where's my pliers or my tweezers? And the most common thing I say is, where are my glasses? These are going to go right, this is going to go right in front of my sewing machine, but I'm not finished with it yet because it's not staying up nice. Of course, I haven't ironed. What time is it now? Is that what you're asking? It is, what time is it? I don't have a clock. Usually Amy Better Days tells me what time it is. So I think if I stitch the corners, do like an edge stitch on the bottom like I did on this, I think it'll stay up. Thank you, Amy. So it's 3:34 in Arizona right now, and we don't change our clocks, which makes it challenging for me to answer questions like that. Okay, so I think it's going to stay up better if I bring these two corners in instead of having them be out. It's like bunny ears. So I do want to press that nice. Tinkerbell just left. Dogs have been so good today. For those of you who don't know, I do have 2 dogs that sometimes interrupt the show. They will come in at the 2-hour mark. They know about what time I usually stop. Okay, so now those are pressed nice and I can stitch around, and it's not going to keep that from coming in. So I'm going to do a stitch on this. So using a straight stitch, now I'm moving the guide further away, and what I'm going to do is sew on that side of this satin stitch. I am going to do that all the way around the top of this as well. So now I'm using it as an edge or a top stitch. It's a top stitch whenever there's fabric. In case you're wondering what's the difference between a top stitch and an edge stitch. A top stitch, your presser foot is sitting on top of fabric while on the edge of another piece, like a pocket. And when you are told to sew an edge stitch, the foot is sitting off the edge over here, and you sew a stitch along the edge, which is very difficult for most sewing machines without our foot. Satinedge makes it easy. Now I'm gonna lift this up and pivot and make a little triangle. So that's what I'll do. I'll repeat that on each corner to keep it from flipping and flopping. So Madeline, I'm not sure what time it is where you are. I start every Thursday at 2 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. If you join my school, which is create.clarerowley.com, you'll see that in the description for the video after I'm done. And you join and you make sure you have your subscription set up or your notification set up. This is what I'm going to do. So that triangle. You can also reach out to me. I can help you. You guys can call. I actually talk to you on the phone. People go, I can't believe you answered the phone. I think that's so funny. So here's the thing. If your clocks change, you guys complain. Oh no, I have to spring forward. Now I got to fall back. We don't. And it sounds wonderful, except for Because our clocks never change, I never know what time it is where you guys are. I have to really think about it. So right now we're 2 hours difference with New York, and usually like California and New York are 3 hours apart. So in the spring, when you spring forward, I will be at the same time as California. So that's why you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, or I will be notifying you every Thursday in the Facebook. If you set yourself up inside of Facebook. So inside Facebook, if you're at our Creative Feet fan page, it's the safest one to do because I stream to that one. If you're in the group, which... Who is asking these questions? Yeah, Madeline. So you're actually inside of my group, where inside of Facebook. And if I have time or remember to share the video, then you guys are notified. But if you follow the Creative Feet fan page and you go up to the top and there's 3 dots and you go in there and you set up notifications and set up all notifications, then anytime I go live, you guys you'll be notified when I'm going live. And I'm getting better. This is finally working where we're streaming to multiple platforms. So I'm learning how to do that. And I think this was the first time it was successful. I'm so excited. Which means we're going to expand even more locations. So I'm going to be streaming to maybe up to 5 different places at the same time. It is more challenging to follow the chat, but it means I can reach more of you and we can have even more fun. We also have my online school, create.clarerowley.com, and there is a link in the chat all the way up to the top of the chat. And in the description, after I stop the video, in the description, you'll see the links to the school. Join the school. It's free to join, and then set up your notifications, download the app, have it on your cell phone. And they just made it so I can go live in the school. And now they just made it so I can share my screen in the school. So it looks like I'm not going to need Zoom. I'm not really sure what it means to you. If it means that we don't have to use Zoom anymore, I'm super excited. And so know that there's a lot coming, and then I have courses which will cost money, but there's a lot of content for those of you free. And it's like Facebook, but it's not Facebook. You're in my private little place, and we have 3,000 or more members already in there. So be sure to join, and don't forget to turn on your notifications. Now, if you have your notifications for your phone turned off, it negates all your other notification settings. So if you don't like your phone automatically sending you a message, then you may want to have it email you as well so that you can check your emails. This Batik is a no brand from Hobby Lobby, and they had like a rack of a whole bunch of different ones, and I bought some of all of them last spring. They were so pretty. I'm pretty sure it's still in the Hobby Lobby, in the Hobby Lobby. I don't know why I'm putting the in front of it. And also, I would imagine there'd be something you can find at Joann's. So it was a very affordable one. It's thinner than your real high quality batiks that you get. It's more of a printed batik than a dyed batik. In case you guys didn't know, there's fabrics that are printed and fabrics that are dyed. And then you can ink your own fabric like I do, that you see on the wall. To help. So I wish there was a name, but there's no name on the selvage like there normally is on fabrics. Maybe I can see about carrying it. I really love it. And on the fabric, then you don't have a weekend. A weekend. It's not the weekend yet. And you can see, let me see, cut the little tails. And this is how it looks. It just has this cute little point on each one. That doesn't look bad, does it? I love this fabric. I could just sit and stare at it. I'm not normally one that... I don't normally go this bright on my fabrics, but oops, start in. Couple stitches forward, go back. Happy birthday to Bob Riddle in Facebook. It's his birthday today. Everybody say happy birthday to Bob. And if any of the rest of you are having your birthday, please let me know. Okay, now we're going to go back. I actually had no idea what I was going to teach today, so I'm trying to think of all my favorite things. Running out of time. I've also been thinking of an eyeglass holder that I want to make. Okay, so I don't think I have to do that, but I am because I like it. So I'm going to turn it inside out. And I'm going to go all the way around with a straight stitch along the side. It is something that I really enjoy always having on the side of my napkins and stuff. Also, if you're going to make a napkin, you're going to wash it a lot. Then you want to stitch a straight stitch really close to the edge, like 1/8 of an inch away. And you can achieve that because you have the adjustment of this nut to make it so you can do really, really close stitches along the edge. Then you stitch over that, then stitch again to the side of it, and that napkin will not fall apart no matter how much it's washed. Even if you are using a loose weave fabric, which is really nice because if you use like gabardines, then you have a double-sided fabric. You can't tell which side's right and which side's wrong, and they're soft. This is something that I do to make napkins, though, fusing the two fabrics right sides together. Using our Fuse and Fuse stabilizer, which is almost undetectable, especially after it's been washed and dried. It gets even softer. So the consistency of being able to stitch right along the edge, now it looks like a serger did this, but it didn't. It's just a regular sewing machine. This is going to add strength to the top of this container that I'm making, and then I'm going to do something else to make it stay upright more. Zoom, zoom, zoom. All right. I can't tell. I don't have my glasses on, so if I went around twice, I can't tell. The stitches, it's so consistent right along the edge that, there we go. Okay, now I have a knot stitch on my machine, so I'm just tying a knot this time. Wrong sides together with Fuse and Fuse in between, and now your fabric has enough body to be used for this, but I can still see it kind of sagging. So I'm going to take now and sew a edge stitch, and I'm not going to make it that far, so I'm going to move my needle over. Oh, I can move the guide or the needle. I can use both the needle positions and the guide to adjust the needle positions. So I'm going to tie a knot. I'm also going to go back a couple stitches, and now I'm relying on the foot. Push towards the foot, pushes back the other way. I have to cough. I'm muting myself. All right, I'm back. So I'm going around the bottom of the bag, and I'm going to go off and go. Gotta go off first, Claire. This reverse button bugs me on this machine. Oh, I didn't start on the off. I didn't go all the way to the end. I need to do it on this side so I can see better. I really should put my glasses on. There they are. And the reason I'm going off is because I've never done it before, and I'm not sure if I can flip the fabric out. But you can see now it has a straighter wall than it does over here where it just sags. So you can see it's more stable in there. You use this foot to make eyeglass cases? Variegated along the edge. You should be sharing what you do in the group or in the school if you haven't joined the school yet. So this tiny little edge stitch gives it so much more stability and structure. And it's a really kind of a nice little present, I think, for anyone who has pens or glasses on their desk area. We're going to use the presser now and press it back. Tomorrow is the day I make pressers, if any of you need one. Today's a good day to order, because you know you won't be waiting a whole week for me to make them. I'm doing the same thing now on the two ends. And this is thicker, so I'm going to move the guide further out, which, believe it or not, it's not going to make it further out. So go back. That's what's so important about having a guide adjust. So feet that you're provided by your sewing machine companies frequently don't have any adjustableness to them. And they don't guide in the needle area. They usually don't. So having the guide wire in the zigzag opening makes it more reliable, so I can push on it. But it also makes it so I can adjust to the different thicknesses of fabric. So if you stitch forward, all of a sudden I was getting a spam call on my cell phone. Here we go. So this is almost done, and I'm going to take off this foot and put on, or play around with the octahoops a little bit. Answer any of your questions, and next week I'm hoping to have a plan of what I'm going to do. This pattern for this is inside of the school. It's in the Fabrically Speaking live group. It's free. It doesn't have any writing on this video or on this pattern, but you can watch this video again to follow all the steps. Oh, here's the dog. Are they right on time? Is it 4 o'clock? I don't need an alarm clock. I have dogs. Cutting all my tails. That was Tinkerbell. She just climbed back on her little bed on the chair. First she tapped me on the leg. This is a new thing for her. She's getting more boisterous. She whines more. She's 16 and she never used to do that. My glasses are where they belong. It drops right in front of my machine, below it, which is hard to show with And now my presser and my seam ripper and my little scissors. These are the things I'm constantly saying, where did I put those? The other ones is my tweezers. So these are the things that this tray is going to hold. Cool beans? Cool beans. Oh no, I can't believe I said that. If my daughter is watching, she would be yelling at me going, Mother, don't say that. I can't remember who said, I think my sister Kathy said it was her that used to say that all the time. So we have this cute little tray now, and it's a lot more stable than it looks, and it's soft, so it won't hurt my elbow if I hit it with my arm or anything. And pretty much a lot of the shows are stuff I want, stuff that bothers me, and I gotta not forget to send this to Sheila. Can't remember the other two names right now, but I have your name written down, and you emailed me. Any orders that have been placed for the Caterpillar should be all resolved by the middle of next week. All right, so I'm going to do some free motion because it's fun. You know, even though I'm at 2 hours, I'm going to go a little bit longer because I feel good and the dog went to sleep. Oh, you know what I really wanted to do? I want to do a little bit more quilting with the jeans. Is that what it's called? Jean stitch thread that we have. I'm so excited. It's just so perfect. It's a little thing. I'm not going to lose it anymore. So remember, the free pattern is in the school under the Fabrically Speaking Live area. So this is what I was going to play on. And you can see that there is no backing on there. That is one of the things I do when I do a lot of the fiber art, so that I don't have a lot of thread back there. And then after you're done doing a lot of the decorative stitching, then you put your back on, and then you can just like outline certain things, and it makes your quilt have nicer drape and not so much weight on top of you. Amy, I love how enthusiastic you are. It's so weird because I can see your names really big, but I can't see the message. But the message is the same as the name. The font's too big. So I know there's another bobbin that I need to put away. Okay, I want to do something that is fun here. Let's see. Got to change my thread. Should I do this? Oh, we've got these. I'll do those. All right. For most of this quilt, I used the Invisifill thread, and it is the 100 weight thread. So it drops further down into the fabric. So you can see that it barely shows up on the fabric, which means it's more forgiving. If you are new to free motion, I suggest using the 100 weight thread or the Deco Bob, which is 50 weight or 80 weight. Both of them are thinner than your 40 weight thread, which would show up a lot. And a lot of people quilt with heavy cotton thread, and so this is something that I would normally say you shouldn't even try free motion on, but it really did work one day. Let's see. Well, this is kind of like something I use for showing you a variety of different things. This was a sample that I used to pass out at the shows. It's micro quilting. Something I started because we have the ability to draw with a handle with our octahoops. How nice was that? I knew right where my presser was. I don't have my long fingernails right now, so I have to use my presser in place of my fingernails. Okay, this is 40 weight thread. So I'm going to put it in my 40 weight bobbin case. It is considered embroidery thread. No, that is the question I had this week. So this is another jean stitch thread. You can see how thick it is. All right, so I'm going to explain that a little bit. When you do embroidery, you'll want 40 weight thread because you want it to show up a lot. If you use a thin thread, you need more stitches to fill in an area. That doesn't mean you can't use a 100 weight thread to do quilting though, and art. The difference between them I have on here. Let me show you. This is the Deco Bob bobbin, pre-wound bobbins. And they're 80 weight, they're thinner, which is good because then you can lay more thread on top and have less bulk. And take the foot off. Put it back in its cubby. Take the machine's snap-on adapter off. Okay, the monofilament thread you have is probably polyester, and I don't recommend polyester monofilament. We offer nylon monofilament, which is the original Wonder thread. It's super fine. This is it in smoke. This would be the thinnest of all threads. The least likely to show. One full bobbin of monofilament nylon thread, ours, is 4 thousandths in diameter. It doesn't even have a weight because it's so thin, and you can iron over it without melting it, despite what people say. And this smoke is the color you'll use the most. Most people buy clear, and then they don't have smoke. So what's the difference between the smoke and the Clare? Both in my hand right now. I'm going to help you see this. So nylon thread stretches and it's soft. It's the one that's safer for children as well, nylon versus polyester. Polyester is more abrasive. They're almost identical compounds invented the same year by the same chemist at DuPont. So they're both laying over this. No, they're not. I had 2 layers of smoke. There we go. Where's the clear? All right, now I have both colors. And I'm right in front of it. So that's how hard it is to see these. So both colors are laying over this. Smoke and clear. So what you do is you look for the one you can see, and clear is almost always visible on medium tones because the light reflects. So you don't want clear almost always, unless you're primarily sewing on pastels or white. On pastels or white, smoke looks dirty. And then clear is almost invisible. So there's the clear right here. But you can't see it, but there's the smoke. So you need them both. And these are the ones that we offer at Creative Feet. One may last you an entire lifetime. One full bobbin is so small. So one full bobbin. The spool you bought is huge, so it's probably heavier. I don't recommend the thicker monofilaments. It would depend on what you're using it for. So factories use heavier nylon, and it is nylon generally, to stitch on upholsteries and boat things and sleeping bag and tents, and when they don't want stitches to show. And it's thicker because of what it's being used for. But for just about everything we're going to use it for, we want soft, thin, really, really ultra fine. So it's been called Wonder Thread because it's wonderful. One full bobbin may be all you need for an entire quilt for doing all the quilting on the top, depending on how heavy you quilt your quilts. Having a thinner thread in the bobbin makes for a lighter quilt. And so one bobbin of this is the equivalent of winding 100 bobbins of cotton quilting thread. That means you're going to wind like 98% less bobbins. It also means that it takes a long time to wind one bobbin of this. So what I recommend you do is also wind your bobbins slower. This would be good for the new little thread dispenser thingy that's coming out. We'll be offering soon, because it will take all drag off of your invisible thread and your metallic threads. So it's something I will feature this soon when we have this product in. It's 4 thousandths in diameter. 0.04 is the diameter of the thread that we offer. So I don't know what you wrote, number 4, or what you're referring to. If it was that, that's what I meant to say is, so it's below 1 thousandths. It's 0.04 thousandths of an inch, which is a fraction of a millimeter. Yeah. But if you wind a bobbin really fast at full speed of nylon thread, you know what happens? It heats up the bobbin. Because the thread is also strong and it has flexibility, it stretches and comes back. They called it memory yarn when they first developed it. And they developed it for parachutes. So as the fabric expanded with the wind, as carrying our servicemen down during the war, during Woodrow Wilson's term, the nylon lingerie thread is what really was first invented or developed. It's a fiber and it's bonded and it has multiple threads. This is the lingerie thread that we also offer. And it is so strong, but it stretches and comes back to its original shape, like pantyhose. And that is what they made pantyhose out of. And why pantyhose were called, they said they were, the first we were wearing stockings and they were bagging at the ankles. And they came out with pantyhose or nylons made with memory yarn and no more sagging nylons at your ankles. So that's kind of a short version of the history of the nylon fiber. It's gotten a bad reputation from competitors that came out with polyester monofilament, and polyester monofilament was never a good idea because it itches and scratches you and it doesn't bend well, so it doesn't make a knot with itself well. You can't put it on a bobbin because it won't stay on the bobbin. You wind a bobbin with polyester monofilament, also known as monopoly, and it will unwrap inside your machine and tangle up inside your machine. I'm a sewing machine mechanic, so when I talk of these things, I am speaking from that perspective, so you know that I am looking out for your sewing machine's well-being. All right, what color am I going to do? Yellow. And I pretty much have used just the Invisifill on here, I think. And I want to stick with that because I do. Do I? Is that 40 weight? I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. Isn't that pretty? I didn't film it because my son taught me that every once in a while I have to create without cameras. And but I plan on having more fiber art lessons inside the school. So if you wound it fast, what will happen, thank you for reminding what I was saying. If you wind nylon thread really fast through, it goes through your tension, goes through all that stuff. And if you are putting it like this and pulling the weight of that spool, you're stretching it. And it goes back, right? So it stretches out, comes back, and it does that really fast. And it creates energy, and it changes the temperature of your bobbin. So the plastic bobbins shrink and they get stuck on your bobbin winding assembly. And the top and the bottom of the donut of your bobbin can pop off, and they call it exploding bobbin. Now, you're more likely to have that happen with the lingerie thread than you are with the monofilament thread, because this is like 5 times stronger than the other. However, it's super strong and super soft. This is what I use for memory quilts, the lingerie thread. And anytime I make a quilt for a child that's going to jump up and down on top of the bed, because they're likely to break the thread. In fact, your quilts are more likely to fall apart in the seam allowance on the thread than anything else. And or unless you use the wrong needle, if you use a sharp needle, your fabrics will tear on that seam allowance. So that's why I'm always telling you what needle and thread I'm using, so that you have a understanding. And I wish I could just stick it in your head and have you remember. But I do have a blog, and one of the blogs is all on the thread at creativefeet.com. At the top of the page is blog. I believe it's at the top. And there you can print out the blog on the thread, so you have what to use each thread for. The only one you're not going to find is the jean stitch, because it's new to me. And one of the things you can use it for is quilting. I am going to get a piece of fabric and quilt a little bit. I've got to. That's why I was bringing out that. That's right. I confused myself by bringing this out. Okay. I would never recommend quilting with a thread this thick, but it is fantastic and stunning, and I was able to do it without the foot, if I recall, which I was surprised by. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Joanne. Welcome, you guys. I'm almost done for the day, though, because I'm starting to get loopy, starting to forget what I'm saying. All right. No smaller than a 9014 needle on this. And I even thought I couldn't use the needle threader, and it worked. Gotta love this needle threader. Now, I would not recommend this on all needle threaders. This machine, when I push this button, the tension discs open and allow this thick thread to go through with this tiny little wire that pushes the thread through the eye. So if you, I can't remember if I used it. Oh gosh, I think I did. Well, we'll find out. Yeah. And that would not be possible with some of your needle threaders. You'll break or bend your needle threader little wire. And I know I've said this before and I haven't got it on our site yet, but we will be adding these little needle threaders to help you with stuff like that. So you can take and put that through your needle eye, and then take this thread and go below the little hook. And I don't have my glasses on. There we go. And then you can, whoops, I'm backwards. Hat. So I posted a picture of some antique or vintage hats in the group, and I was going to ask you guys. Now, this is the Facebook group I'm talking about. Those of you in my Facebook group, if you saw the hats, would you like me to develop a hat pattern like that? I think the hook's on the other side. I'm just going to use the needle threader. Every once in a while I get chatty and talk about stories. You're embroidering a zebra on outdoor cushion fabric. Oh, okay. I've got something for you. You're going to love hearing this. So what kind of fabric is it? What color fabric is it? So you have a contrast. One of the colors, either the white needs to cover black or the black needs to cover white, or you're doing white and black on another color. No matter what, you have a lot of coverage, and no matter how much thread you use, white will never really look white on black because it will, embroidery threads have a shine to them and they reflect the color they're next to or on top of. And so your white thread will kind of look dingy right from the start. So that's what our cover up is for. Come on. Are you in here? Here they are. So we have different color vinyls, and they're the right gauge of vinyl, the right stickiness. In other words, they're not sticky because that would make your needle not behave well. And so we have it in white and black, so you can lay the vinyl on top and have pure white embroidery on black fabric. And you don't need as much thread to cover it because this blocks the color of the thread and it tears around where your needle has struck the fabric, and you end up with perfect color on your colors. So that cool? They come in starter packs with we have 16 different colors to choose from. And you'll find them under our stabilizers area. They also, if you have a fluffy fabric, will hold that fabric down forever. It doesn't ever wash out. It's vinyl. So keep that in mind. If your design is a open design, think of a tennis racket. You have the handle of the racket. That's a solid. Then you use the cover up, and for the open area where the net is, you wouldn't want to use it there. And you just lay it down and then sew right over it. And you can use it for free motion as well. I have a towel, how to monogram on towels video in my YouTube channel where you can see me use it and use it free motion as well. You're using marine thread? No. You don't need to do that. You can go to 40 weight. But we do have this in white and black. But this is not embroidery. So I have a hoop. I can do embroidery and quilting with this. Let me start with quilting and show you guys what it looks like. So this is 40 weight thread, and you can see it's this, you can barely see, this is the 100 weight. And you can see with the 100 weight, we can use a 70 needle and quilt and do tiny, tiny little pebbles and intricate quilting designs. I want to do a purse pattern and blow your guys' minds, and you guys will be able to do it. See how small that feather gets? And you can write. This was all done with the Octi hoops. This is free motion. So just like I can write my name with a pen, I can write my name with a needle. This is so small. This is less than 1/4 of an inch. So this is like 3 millimeters tall, those letters. The camera makes it look bigger, like it makes me look bigger. Where'd I put my hoops? Stay. I got too much stuff on my table. This is the set of 3 frames that I created to make it so you can all do free motion without putting your hands down like this and lifting your elbows. And everything that we do with a regular embroidery machine, you can do with the Octi hoops with just a straight stitch on your machine. And all this stuff falling. Don't want to have a bunch of stuff in the way. Got to remember to send this to Sheila. I got too much out. Move over. Don't fall off. I'm afraid to move things because one day I had to shut down, start over. My computer is this little tiny box, and it's on the table. And one time I hit the cord. That was a couple weeks ago. We've had a really good show today, not having any issues. Thank you, God. So when we do free motion embroidery, we attach a stabilizer to the back. And this is the original Hoop It All SIA, also known as Stick and Tear, also known as Stick It All stabilizer that does not gum up your sewing machine needle. Allows you to embroider. So you can see it's very firm, and you embroider and then it tears clean away and you're left with a hole the size of that dragonfly. I'll do a little embroidery on this as well. But first we're going to quilt. When we quilt, we don't want stabilizer on the back. We're going to use 2 frames at the same time. One frame is going to go beneath and the other frame is going to go on top. And these are the 2 sizes that I use because my hand is small. And what you want to do, because when you work with this, you move your fingers with your hand down on the surface. You don't lift your arms up and hold it like this, which instinctually some of you will do. Right now I have a 90-14 I said it took me years to stop doing that on Home Shopping Network. I am using the universal needle, and it's the super universal needles by Schmetz. You'll find them on our website under supplies. You'll find Schmetz needles and the story of why that is the needle that I recommend. They are the straightest, most consistent needles. Consistently, he's no longer alive, the inventor of the universal needle, but I got to meet him when he was developing it, and so they're pivotal to the success of sewing and the elimination of the shredding of the seam lines. When you used to wear a shirt and you take it off and all your seams were shredded and you might have thought you need to lose some weight, but it was the needle that was cutting the fabric. So the universal needle pushes fibers aside instead of cutting right through them like a sharp needle does. Okay, so you're using an industrial Singer sewing machine. I have advised some people on industrial things. I mean, that's kind of what I did in the beginning of my career. We set up factories with industrial sewing machines. So you're welcome to email me and we can schedule a conversation so that I can best advise you as to what you can do. Sometimes you just need to have your thread go through more guide, or go through you bring it up and then go through the guide and go through the guide again and then bring it to the machine. And that makes your industrial machines behave better with thinner weight threads. So you can give that a try. All right, here we go. This is the second time I've used this thread for free motion, and it is a consideration for you on that machine. However, it comes in smaller spools. Looking for my glasses in my cute little tray right in front of the machine. Still had trouble finding my glasses in there. All right, so no foot does not mean that you don't lower it. You still need to lower it. You want to make sure. So if you don't lower the foot, the thread just slides through the needle. As soon as you lower the foot, then it will actually bend the needle, which is the most common reason to break a needle of free motion, is to have your thread get caught on something because of how you deliver it to your machine. And we bring the bobbin thread up. Oh my goodness, this tray is already making me more organized. A little corral. And I am just like, I'm going to lower my tension one whole number. So it's normal at 4, I'm going to 3.0. Because this is very thick thread. And because I can't remember if I did this before. Pretty sure I did. 90-14 universal needle. The super universal needle is what I have in here right now. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking and sew a little. And this is without a foot, you guys. And yes, you can do this on an industrial machine. Unless you have a walking foot machine. It's Valentine's week. We are having a Valentine's Day sale, you guys. So the coupon code, and this is February 10th of 2022. If the coupon doesn't work, it means it's no longer valid. It is LOVE10, and you'll get 10% off your entire order at creativefeet.com. Good now through the 15th at midnight. Remember, this is live now, but it won't be live at some point. So you can see this is amazing, to be honest with you. This is heavier than cotton quilting thread. And the stitch length is determined by how fast I move my hands and how fast I run the machine. I do recommend embroidering slower with this thread, but it has a beautiful consistency to it. And it is the thread that they manufacture blue jeans with. So it has a, imagine the embroidery you can put on blue jean fabric with this. Okay, so this is free motion quilting without a foot, without, oh, this has backing on it. And what bobbin am I using? The Deco Bob. It's amazing. Like I said, it works. Oh, I forgot. The scissors. It didn't cut my bobbin thread. It's like, I'll cut the blue jean thread, but I'm not cutting both. I would not recommend using your scissor button with this thread, and I did that, so eventually you'll wear it out quicker. Wear out that little knife. Okay, so this is the front. And now let's look at the back. And this is where I used my scissor and it did not like the scissor. But the stitch itself, that's the Deco Bob, and you can see the Deco Bob handled that thick thread beautifully, but I also lowered the tension, one whole tension setting. All right, so that's oh, I always forget about the feed dogs. At some point I make you laugh. I don't know what I said. At some point I crack myself up too. So the feed dogs do not engage the fabric if there is no foot. So when you use a free motion foot, you know, they recommend you lower the feed dogs because the feed dogs will engage with that foot when it taps on the fabric. So I'm going to take that thread off. This was about doing some of my favorite things. That was one of my favorite things. Ah, that's why this machine has an issue. It has a little spot that gets caught. That's why I put this machine away for a while. Okay. I wonder if my little tray is going to stay there. We'll find out when the quilt hangs over the front. I think it will. So I didn't explain this very well because it's past 2 hours. So this is going to go beneath the quilt. This is the medium size. And then this smaller one goes on top and it drops inside the perimeter. I do have a lot of videos on the YouTube channel on this. We have, if you click through the go to my YouTube channel and you type in Octihoops, you'll find the Octihoops instructional video, which is a whole bunch of videos showing you all of the different things you can do with the Octihoops and help you understand better what I'm doing here. So the feed dogs have been up this whole time, and I'm going to lower them now so that you know that you can also do this with them lowered. Oh, I got the quilt. It's thread. I'm like, what do I need? See, I need a little of my shake. So I'm going to have you look at this, and I'm going to mute myself while I drink a little bit of this so I can teach you better. And I'm going to end in about 15 minutes, maybe 10. I'm muting myself. All right, I gotta pick the color thread that I want to use. Am I still muted? No. Okay. Pick a color. I'm going to quilt around these flowers that don't have anything yet. And they're daisy-ish. I could use white. It's so boring. What have I got? Once again, this is the 100 weight. Look how shiny that is. Isn't that beautiful? That's one of the neat things about the wonderful thread that we carry, is they have a process that makes their thread shiny without making it slippery. So the tension is more consistent with their thread than any other polyester, which means you'll have less skip stitches, thread shredding. And honestly, I thought this thread was stretchy for quite a few years. And the designer of the thread goes, no, it does not stretch. It's in your mind. It does not stretch. And I'm like, it feels like it stretches. And he goes, it's just going into your skin. It doesn't stretch. It just felt like, and now that I know it doesn't stretch, well, now I can tell it doesn't stretch. So, but it's so amazing. It's lovely. Best quilting thread there is if you're at long armor and you want to quilt and not have to change your bobbins, and you still want to have colored thread on the bottom, because it's the equivalent of winding like 78 bobbins of cotton quilting thread. Threading the needle. All right. So frequently I start this and I just say, bring up your bobbin thread and take off the foot. And that's really all you need to do. But you can lower your feed dogs should you want to. Another thing that I do is use my little pillow so that my elbow doesn't get hurt. Because unlike all other free motion techniques, we don't put our hands down like this and lift our elbows. So try to put your elbows down and keep your hands down and move around, and you'll immediately start feeling a burn across the tops of your hands. Those are the tendons and muscles sending you an alarm going, don't do that. Don't keep doing that, because if you do, you're going to get carpal tunnel syndrome. You'll have issues. Your brain is signaling you to stop doing what you're doing because it's hurting your body. Remember, you don't feel pain without your brain sending you a signal. So that is a warning. It's to help you to learn to rest your body more. So I have my elbows down, shoulders relaxed, and before I begin, I always say that to myself out loud. Say it out loud and your brain will hear you and help you to keep your elbows down. Do not have to squeeze this, and if you have arthritis or any issues with your hands and you can't hold things very well, you can stick your fingers between them or not use the handle at all and just use one hand. If you only have use of one hand, well, you can actually free motion quilt one-handed, and I'll start by showing you that first with my glasses, and my glasses are in my little tray where I'm going to put my octahue handle in there until I need it. Bring your bobbin thread up. Make sure the presser foot lever is down so that you have tension on the thread. One-handed now. And I will change the camera angle so you can see, but first I want to prove to you that I'm only using one hand. And the best way to use one hand for me is to rest my head on my dominant hand and use my non-dominant hand. And I've had a lot of people, in fact, the greater percentage of people say they also quilt better one-handed using their non-dominant hand. So I'm quilting around the flower. I'm going to bring it a little closer. Elbows down, shoulders relax. So you can see that I am actually doing that. And now I'm going to change cameras so you can see up close. And I'm going to have to move the machine closer to me, which is not ideal for my body. So having your machine on top, I was looking for my little scissors and now I remember I have a tray and they're in the tray. Yeah, this is what I was needing all along. Okay, so one-handed still. So I'm still resting my head on resting my head on my hand as I go. But then if you do have use of both hands and you can hold this, then this makes it a lot easier. You want to make sure you're not resting your hand on the quilt, that you do rest your arm, but have it on the sewing machine instead. Elbows down, shoulders relaxed. And what I'm doing is bringing the corner of the frame that's beneath to the corner of the frame, or the one on top, bringing them together on one corner. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome. So now I can just go and quilt around the flower. And this is sticky, which is because it's white ink. So all of the inks that are white have like a sticky texture to them. So I would use a foot so that I don't have it's grabbing. See how the needle is lifting the fabric? Every once in a while I have to use a foot. And if you don't, you end up with looping and skip stitches. This is the foot that I would recommend, having a open front so that you can see a little bit better. And then screw that on. Always attach the foot with the foot raised. And never use one of these feet without screwing the nut tight, and also your needle screw. Don't go too far on this, but farther than finger tight, because that bar is going to bang on that needle bar, or the needle bar and the. This is why I got to stop at a certain point. Can't think of words. So now the foot is going to stop the needle from lifting, but I also can't see as well. And this is generally the issue with a lot of people. Also, the foot is tapping on the fabric, which can cause a little pucker on the fabric. So now you know why I generally don't use a foot, because whenever you don't use a foot, you don't have any puckers. And you just slide the hoops to move from one area to the other. Slide the bottom frame over and move the top frame. And then you can move over here. So there's nothing attached to anything. Talk to yourself. Okay. I want my stitches to all be the same. And then your brain goes, okay, I'll make sure that the stitches are all the same. If you don't want to see such a big hole, you should be using a smaller needle. I was using a larger needle for what we were doing before, because I was using that heavy thread. But with the Wonderful and Visifil thread, you can use a 70-10 needle, which is probably what I did before, because I don't remember needing a foot before. So I hope that you enjoyed this week's episode of Fabrically Speaking Live. I am Clare Rowley, and it is 4:30 which is a half hour past the time my brain functions at its best. And I'm going to spare you any more stuttering. Be sure to look through our playlist, Fabrically Speaking Live, for the other seasons, as this is season 3 of episode 7. And today's date is February 10th, 2022. We currently have a coupon running. It runs until February 15th at midnight on February 15th, 2022. The coupon code is LOVE 10. So make sure you take advantage of the coupon. So the way you get your stitches to all be the same is to tell your brain that you want all your stitches to be the same. Say it out loud. It helps your brain do that. Just like you don't think about the speed in which your car is driving and your hands on the steering wheel and your turn signal. You don't really pay attention to that after a certain period of time. The same thing begins to happen with free motion. And the best way to achieve that is to speak out loud to the autonomic, I have a hard time saying that, the autonomic section of the brain where the two hemispheres of your brain work together. They didn't think we did that, but now they know we do under 3D imaging. I may not be right on which particular imaging it is, but they tell you to speak out loud, and you will, you train that part of your brain. So when you walk around the house and go, I'm putting my glasses on top of my sewing machine, and you don't say it. If you don't say it, you may never find those glasses until the next time you go, oh, there they are. But if you're leaving the house and you go, I'm going to put my glasses on top of the refrigerator, you're more likely to be able to find them later because your brain heard you say it. So it's kind of like if you don't talk out loud, you're keeping secrets from yourself. So talk to yourself out loud, say elbows down, shoulders relaxed. This is instructions for the brain, and it keeps you from doing this. And it's an automatic thing, automatic behavior. You will start to lift and lean because that's how we always had to sew before you had the Creative Feet products. So what was I going to say? Let me read your question again. So the faster you run the machine, the smaller the stitches will be unless you move your hands as fast as the machine is going. And if you think about it too much, it'll slow you down from getting good at it. I recommend that you drop your speed down using your speed control. If you don't have a speed control on your machine, you can place something underneath the foot control to keep the foot control from going all the way down. When I first taught machine embroidery, we didn't have computerized machines. And I had people use an eraser and take a rubber eraser and slide it under the foot control to keep them from ever going full speed when they were learning free motion. You got the feet in 2007? That's not that long ago when you consider they released in 1989. So that's a long time. The year my son was born. No, that's the year my daughter was born. The year I invented them was before I had kids. So in the beginning, I'm writing my story so that you guys will have access to it. My memoir. I'm also writing The Science of Sewing and Quilting to help you fully understand all aspects of sewing, quilting, and embroidery, industrial and domestic sewing, because it needs to be done. And if you like this video, after we're done with the live, be sure to hit the like button afterward to let YouTube know. And if you're on Facebook, as many thumbs ups and hearts as you can do whenever I'm live helps them to know that you're having fun, and they're more likely to share my video with more people with a similar interest to yours. I appreciate all you do. What do they say? Sharing is caring. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you've yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, be sure to do so today and join Create with Clare Rowley, my free online school at create.clarerowley.com. I will at the end, you'll see the links for that. I don't need to type it because it's in the description. It's already there. And with that, I bid you adieu. I love you all. Thanks for watching. Bye.